In today's video, let's talk about subsidies. Firstly, what is a subsidy? A subsidy is a direct or indirect payment to individuals or firms, usually in the form of a cash payment from the government or a targeted tax cut. Okay? Now, a subsidy has the aim of encouraging the production and consumption of goods and services with positive externalities, such as merit goods, right? This is the whole point of subsidies. We want to encourage, firms producing more and consumers buying more of these types of goods that are good for society, good for third parties, that have positive externalities. And of course, this is so they can solve market failures, right? And also because they can make goods and services more affordable. Those are the two main reasons why subsidies are put in place. Now let's look at subsidies on a graph. So as always, this is microeconomics. So we have price on the y-axis, quantity on the x-axis. And then of course, we draw a supply curve, S1, and a demand curve, D1. A subsidy has the effect of shifting the supply downwards, or to the right, you could say. And we're going to label this S1 plus subsidies. Okay, plus subsidy. Excellent. Now, of course, we start at equilibrium. And then we go to the new equilibrium. So we can say P1, Q1, P2, Q2. And then we'll put some letters here, A and B. Okay, great. So firstly, the first impact, right, is on the supply curve. Now, like we said, there's a downward shift, right? From S1 to S1 plus subsidy. Excellent. Then as we can see, by comparing the two equilibriums, the price decreases from P1 to P2. So lower price, P1 to P2. And the quantity increases. So we have higher quantity, right? Q1 to Q2. Excellent. And now we have to calculate the government spending. Or in other words, the cost to the government of this subsidy, right? Because remember, the subsidy is a form of payment, right? Perhaps as a cash payment. So there is a cost to this for the government. We are the ones issuing the subsidy. So the first thing to clearly understand, just as the indirect taxation graph, this vertical distance here between the supply curves is the subsidy, and we could say subsidy per unit, right? Per unit. So this vertical distance is the subsidy. Therefore, in order to calculate the government spending or the government cost, right, we need to go at our new equilibrium, right, the equilibrium we sit at currently with the subsidy. And again, we go up, right, the vertical distance, because this is the subsidy, and we go horizontally as well, which we could call this, let's say, D, right, D and C here. Okay, great. So the government spending, right, is the subsidy per unit, right, the vertical distance B to C, like we said. And then in order to calculate the spending, the cost, we need to multiply the subsidy per unit times the quantity of units, right? Therefore, it's the whole box here, okay, this whole shaded box. So the government spending is B, C, D, P2. That's the government spending, okay? Excellent. And then, of course, from the subsidy, there is consumer gain, or we could see also as consumer savings, right? And producer gain, okay? So, first of all, the consumer gain or consumer savings. Now, at the old equilibrium, consumers had to pay P1 for their goods. Now, thanks to the subsidy, they now pay P2. Therefore, we could say that this part of the box, so actually let me shade this. So this is the government spending, or the government cost. Then the consumer gain, right, is the difference between the price they used to pay and the price they now pay. So this part of the box, right? That's the consumer gain, right? Which, if we add another letter E here, we could say the consumer gain is E, B, P2, P1, okay? And then the producer gain, okay? So bear in mind that the whole point of the subsidy is to give money to producers, right? So on top of them being able to enjoy more quantity sold, right, Q2, they also get more money, right, through the subsidy. And this can be represented as this top part of the box, okay? So the producer gain is E, C, D, P1, okay? Right, excellent. And then the producer revenue, right? So this is key as well. So the producer revenue used to be, right, P1, A, Q1, 0, right, or origin. It used to be this at equilibrium, at the original equilibrium. But now what is the new producer revenue? The new producer revenue isn't P2, B, Q2, 0. Because bear in mind, like I said, they also enjoy the benefit of the subsidy. So it means that on top of this box here, P2B, Q2, 0, they also enjoy the whole subsidy, right? Because it goes to them. Therefore, the new producer revenue is DCQ2, 0. It's this massive box. So producer revenue goes from P1, A, Q1, 0 to D, C, Q2, 0. So as you can see, there is a great benefit for producers, okay? And so the important thing to understand here, right, is that consumers are better off, we could say. Producers are also better off. But of course, the only ones that we could argue have a cost is the government, because this subsidy is costly, right? It's not free. So there you go for the full impact of subsidies.